Welcome to this final part of Diaspora Scholars TV about the story of John Chirchir, an athlete, an accountant, and a good one at that. So in this final episode, we talk to John about his career as an accountant and much more. Let's find out. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, well, thank you so much again, Daktari.
Go ahead.
So after I graduated for my accounting here in United States as an F1 student, most of the time they give you a work permit. It's called OPT. That work permit usually lasts for 1 year, especially if you didn't do a STEM course. But if you did a STEM course, you get an OPT for 2 years, and then you can renew for another 1 year. So you get 3 years of work permit if you do a STEM course here.
Yeah.
Um, me.
So that's a STEM course, after every level. That's OPT after every level.
Yes.
So after undergraduate, you can get up to 3 years.
You can get up to 3 years, 1 year, depending on what course. If you get a STEM, which is sciences, technology, engineering, maths, then you get 3 years of work permit. So me, I got 1 year because I did accounting. So accounting doesn't qualify as, so it's a business field. So after 1 year of my work permit, I worked at a company called Certa Simmons. It was a company that did mattresses. So we used to make big mattresses. So I did for 1 year because you have to get a job real quick because you don't have time.
You don't have time.
You only have 1 year. So I did that, and then I went back to school to do my MBA because I have to keep my status going. Wow. So I went to school. I applied for Westfield State University. That's also here. I tried.
It's also in Springfield.
It's in basically Springfield, this area. So I applied for Westfield State. I went there for one semester to do a master's in accounting. But the school became too expensive. So expensive because you have to pay for your own housing. Also, you have to gather for yourself, and you also the money that I saved during my OPT. That's what it's supposed to cover through the process. So that was not enough. So I decided to go back to American International College. And I applied for MBA now. I didn't do accounting masters. So I started fresh. I did my masters in business administration. And during that time, I was working as a graduate assistant.
Okay.
So what graduate assistant is, the school pays for your school fees, and then they also give you 20 hours to work as an international student. So those 20 hours, that's what I was using to pay for my own stuff, paying for my housing. And also, I still had money that I saved during OPT. So that helped me to balance out while the school is paying for me during that process of my MBA. And then...
so at this time, you had stopped, running because now...
No more running. Because running is 4 years.
You had already found your path. You have already graduated with a bachelor's, and now, you have lived out of the program. Now you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. So usually the eligibility is 4 years. NCA. Okay. So you can only compete for 4 years.
Okay.
You only have 4 years of eligibility. So once you graduate after that, you cannot compete anymore for NCA. You cannot qualify to compete anymore. So that means everything is gonna be up to you now. So sometime if you perform really good in some colleges, they'll offer to just pay for your masters for free. Okay. But some schools are smaller, like AIC is a little bit small, so then probably they won't be able to do that because of finance is expensive. But they also helped me out because I went there, did my graduate assistant. So graduate assistant is like working for a department, right? And then what they'll do is they'll pay for your school fees and you work for that department. So me, I was working as an IT tech.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was working as an help desk technician for those 2 years.
So you were an IT guy at some point?
Yes. And I had to learn. It's not that I went to school for it.
Yeah.
So being there and learning all the processes helped me a lot, especially to be able to study at the same time, cater for my own expenses outside the school, because I was living now outside the school. After I graduated in 2017, now my OPT, I was out of the school. So during that time, I worked so hard to make sure that I got them for my own expenses outside the school, while I also make sure that I continue with my studying in school.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. I want to ask you something. The people watching from Africa, I want you to give them advice. I mean, you've already done that, but what can you tell that 22-year-old, man or woman, or 18-year-old man or woman who's leaving high school? What are the simple things he needs to do and not do? In summary, what do they need to do? I mean, I know you've talked about applying, doing SAT and all that, but what are the values that they need to have to be able to succeed?
So number one is character. Character takes you far, especially if you are a nice person, inside out, inside your heart. You always have a good heart, and then your character will also take you far. And then the next thing is hard work. You have hard work in you, and you always have a belief, and you also have a faith that you know that no matter where you put me in life, I'll be able to succeed. No matter where you put me, I used to have that dream. Even before I came here, before I even came here, I had plan B. Like when I was running, I had plan B. I had planted over 1,000 trees in Kenya, blue gums. I was lucky because my parents have a bigger farm. So what I was doing while I was running,
you are planting trees.
I was planting trees because I knew, what if I don't go?
Huh?
So that was my plan.
That's an interesting part. That's a interesting angle.
Yeah.
You are planting the blue gum tree, again knowing that these trees will mature.
Yes.
And you can sell
for 10,000 shillings,
per tree
in Kenya for Kenya Power. So my plan was like, people.
You had a fallback position.
Yeah. So usually, in Kenya, like if you've been running for a long time, a notion in my community, if you run for a long time, some people tend to say, hey, this guy has been running for a long time. Oh, it looks like he can't go nowhere. So on my mind, as a young kid, I was like, hey, if this fails, hey, I have 10,000. I kept planting trees until my dad and my grandpa were like, no, you need to stop. You planting too much. Because my plan was to make sure that I continue plant more trees so that I sell it. I did sell it actually about 6-7 years ago, and I think I made over 1 million Kenyan shillings.
You made over 1 million Kenyan shillings.
Yeah, on those trees. Yeah, so it did help me when I was building.
So it was not even a fallback position anymore. It was
a real position. It was a real dream because I knew if I don't come here, I can sell these trees, make that amount of money, start my own business, and that's it. So I already knew.
That is advice you can give people living in diaspora who own land in Africa that is just lying without being used.
Yes.
Simply go plant trees, put somebody to take care of them, and come back to the US.
Yes.
You will thank Chirchir.
You'll thank me later. Yes.
Because over time they'll grow, they'll mature, and you can sell for a lot of money.
And then it requires less management. It's not like sometimes. And also to buy a land for example, you can compare. You can have two. You can say somebody buys a plot in Eldoret and builds rental properties for probably, let's say, 4 million Kenyan shillings. And then another one takes that 4 million, goes to a small reserve somewhere and buys 10 acres of land.
Oh.
Okay? So the other one builds rental houses, and this one goes to that reserve and plants blue gums. All 10 acres, and make sure that it has a good spacing, because that's very important. Spacing in program is very important. That way you can have at least almost 90% yield of trees. So you have good spacing, no management. You don't have to worry about somebody not paying you for your rent and everything. And then 7-8 years down the line, the trees are ready to go to Kenya Power. And as I told you, one tree is 10,000 Kenyan shillings. Per point, at least, you can plant at least 300 trees or 400 trees. So in an acre, 1,200 trees in an acre, 10 acres, you can. And then if you multiply by 10,000,
you're talking about millions.
Millions.
Kenyan shillings.
And it comes once. And the land is appreciating at the same time. So
one thing I've learned from you, John Chirchir, is that you have an accountant mind and an athlete's mind. Even in terms of business, you are looking at how one business can compete and win over the other one.
Yes.
With your example of land versus rental property, it's very clear. You have your accounting mind to it, but at the same time, you are looking about, the winning side. You're talking about the winning side. You're looking at what really will give you the best results at the end of it.
Yes. So another thing I also wanted to share is while I was in my profession now as an accountant, as I told you earlier, I work in public accounting. So we work on small businesses, big businesses. We work on different clientele. We do corporate taxes. We do bookkeeping. We do payroll. Um, we do all the services, accounting services here. And during that process too, I tried to do a business called Tamu Life. That business was outship tea from Kenya. We shipped a big load once with one of my friend called Janet. We brought those tea here.
You are exporting tea from,
Kenya. We exported tea. We had a website. And then we rebranded, because the thing is,
you have to rebrand. That's because you want to be able to make money.
So when we brought a lot of tea, we had a little bit challenge of trying to market the tea, but we saw during Uhuru time he was trying to sign a deal that will allow Kenyan exports of tea to come here, and we thought maybe we should take advantage of that. I think for the Kenyan government right now, I don't think we have that deal going on. I wish our leaders would make sure that deal goes through. That way it can allow people like us to try to bring a lot of tea, because we have
small
quantity. So we brought tea here, and
Kenyan tea is quality tea.
Yes, I have. I wish I forgot to put here. I have it. I wish I forgot to put here.
Yeah.
So I have a brand called Tamu Life. We have a brand for Tamu Life tea. And my goal is, even though right now I'm not that active about it, I'm not giving up with it. I want to make sure that we bring the high quality tea. As you know, in Kenya, tea is we have the best tea in the world, like number one.
Yeah. So it's even used to blend other teas.
Yeah, so it's one of the best. That's why when Europe, they buy tea from Kenya and go change it to British English. You know British English, right?
And they call it
English tea.
English tea.
Yeah, that's Kenyan tea. You know Lipton? I want you one day, flip it on the other side, and see, it says from Kenya.
That's the Kenyan tea for sure.
Yes. So the
whole idea here is that you also have to, brand.
Yes.
You have to brand yourself.
Yes. The biggest challenge that we have is the tea. So we're trying to export the high quality tea, right? But you are a small, trying to penetrate to the US market. The biggest challenge is the tea. We are competing against Lipton. You know the Lipton company?
And they bring competing against big brand names.
Yeah, and those big brand names bring tea from Kenya.
Oh yeah.
But then,
so they'll find ways to to outcompete you.
Yeah, they found ways to outcompete you. But then you don't have a deal to bring your tea as a you get what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So as a trader from Kenya, it's so hard to bring tea that way. But so there is these bilateral deals that already exist between Kenya and these big companies. But then it disadvantages the small businesses that are trying to also do the same business, because they already get tea from us, from Kenya, and they sell it here. But if you're trying to penetrate to the same market, then it's a little bit challenging, because they bring in large quantities, and now they can lower the price. Now you bring in yours, now that percentage of that percentage that you're trying to get,
margin is really contracted.
Yeah, now it's contracted. It's a little bit. So you have to sell a lot, and that's the challenge now. But I'm not giving up. I'm gonna continue trying to figure out ways to continue.
Yeah, I know, John Chirchir. I don't think you're a guy who gives up, and I think maybe we might do another very small session if you have your tea.
Yes,
we can show it to the viewers, particularly in the United States, who can be able to order from you.
Yes, that would be really nice.
I mean, we will give you an opportunity to be able also to compete with the big boys.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, so viewers, this is a very exciting story. I'm glad I came all the way from Indiana